everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this shotgun webinar. I'll do introductions first so you know who's here. My name is Matt Allen from Bluegfx. So we are a shotgun reseller and work with Autodesk quite closely and also work with Jellyfish. So on my immediate right, we've got Kevin Booth. Everyone's on wave now. And we've got Dennis from Jellyfish. Hi. And Morgan from Autodesk at the end. So that's so you know who everybody is. I hope you enjoy the session, and I'm going to pass you over to Kev next.
Thank you very much. Yep. Hello everyone. My name's Kevin Booth. I look after the shotgun business for Europe here at Autodesk. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to be taking a look at Autodesk Shotgun, which is our cloud-based production management solution. And also we're going to be talking about it in conjunction with Jellyfish. So Jellyfish are a local customer to us. They've been a shotgun user for many years and have had some great success with it on various projects. So Dennis will be talking us through how Jellyfish use shotgun at their facility. Throughout the whole session, you'll notice that there'll be a Q&A panel within the screen. So this is live. You can at any point ask any question you want to us. We're live for the entire hour. Please do just mention if you're having any problems with the technology at all, so any streaming issues or sound issues, let us know and we can address it. But more importantly, if Dennis or Morgan, when he's doing a demo of shotgun, comes up with anything that you find particularly interesting that you want to know more about, do please ask the question and we'll either address it straight away or at the end of the session we will have some time for some more Q&A as well. So don't be shy. Make the most of that and enjoy the session. So the agenda is going to be, we're going to hand over to Morgan shortly. Morgan's going to talk you through the product itself. He's going to do a bit of a high-level overview of everything to do with shotgun. So if you're new to the product, if you don't use it yet, hopefully by the end of that you'll have a good idea of what it is. And then we're going to hand over most of the time to Dennis from Jellyfish, who's going to talk to us more about how the product's used there. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Morgan now, and I'll leave it to Morgan to kick off the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. I'm just going to switch cameras quickly so that we can see what I'm talking about a little bit closer. Bear with me. Here we go. Here we go. Right, let's line this up a bit better. Right, I hope everyone can see me. I'm going to kick off with just a little introduction about myself. So I'm a technical specialist at Autodesk, and I cover predominantly Maya, a lot of shotgun, and I've spent about 12 years working in the visual effects industry as a rigger. So I've used a lot of Autodesk products during that time. So over the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to what shotgun is, the latest features, and then we'll be handing over to Jellyfish to hear a bit about how it's used in their productions. So I'm switching the slides on now. Hopefully everyone will be able to see it. So a little introduction about where shotgun came from and how it all began. So it was conceived in production. So originally it was a consultation project for Disney on a film called The Wild. So it originally was just two guys who were brought in, Don Parker and Isaac Rubin, and they were the developers that Disney brought on board to basically solve the problems that they were having in production, allowing everyone to collaborate on the same tasks and the same assets in their shows, and just make everyone aware of what was going on in production. So they basically created a collaboration tool that was a cloud-based tool that allowed them to have everyone collaborate. So Shotgun was born and it became a commercial product. So we've acquired the technology of Shotgun a couple of years ago now in Autodesk, and so we've continued to redevelop it, and we'll be talking about some of the new features within Shotgun shortly. So what is Shotgun and how's it all set up? So as I said, it's a cloud-based tool, so it allows you to use it across multiple sites so people can just log in. And the main industries that are using Shotgun are film, games, and TV, and they're all using it in slightly different ways. So the primary way of interfacing with Shotgun is a website. So you would each get a login, and then from there are lots of different ways of interfacing with your Shotgun site. So RV is one that we'll be mentioning later, and this is actually a media player which allows you to have a way of viewing your high-level 4K videos, DPX sequences, that sort of thing, but also be able to track it and review it as part of the Shotgun universe. So the other way of integrating with Shotgun is integration with lots of creative tools. So obviously there's been focus on the Autodesk tools such as Maya, 3D Studio Max and so on, but there's lots of other competitors' products as well, such as Photoshop, Houdini, and they all have built-in integration with Shotgun as well. And then that is all done through the Shotgun desktop app, which is also known as Toolkit. The final way that you can interface with Shotgun is actually through a Python API. So if your products don't have an out-of-the-box solution, as some of the products that we've shown there, so the Mayas and so on, if they have Python support, you can actually interface with your Shotgun site directly through the Python API that they have available. So there's lots of companies using Shotgun around the globe. These are just a few of them. And we'll be focusing on Jellyfish today in particular. As I mentioned, it was a very collaborative tool. So the point being here is a typical project in visual effects these days. It's not a single studio working on it. This is an example where we had 17 companies working on nearly 3,000 shots worldwide, and they were all able to track and monitor those shots and tasks throughout production very easily through Shotgun. So the core of Shotgun really is just allowing you more time to center on being creative. So by taking away a lot of the admin and the tracking side of your production, it allows everyone to go that little bit faster. And of course, ultimately the goal would be saving your company's money in the process. So I'm going to go into a very brief overview of the actual usage of Shotgun now. And we're going to look at 4 main personas to do that. We're going to talk about the manager and how they would be using Shotgun, the artists, the supervisors and directors, they would like to use Shotgun from the review and approval side, and then your pipeline guy as well. So when you put all these together, really what we end up with is what we would refer to as a human pipeline. So you have your all-seeing eye at the top, the sort of CG managers and studio heads, and then we go right down to the artists and their individual task tracking that is useful to them within Shotgun. So how does it all start? Well, first of all, we're going to look at the main reason why Shotgun is useful. And I've got this little slide that we've put together here, which just illustrates the complexity of a typical modern day CG pipeline. So hopefully this video will start playing in a second. Just going to give it a kick. Here we go. So these are the typical processes that we would see in a modern post-production pipeline these days. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of departments involved, a lot of people involved, and all of these processes are happening per asset, per shot. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of data flying around and a lot of coordination that needs to take place to keep track of all of that. So how do you get up and running with Shotgun? Let's take a quick look. So the way you would get started is you would simply go to shotgunsoftware.com to our sign up page, and there's a free trial where you can get your studio up and running if you want to try this out after today. And the way, this is actually a Jellyfish employee, funnily enough. He's our poster boy. So you would sign up with your email, you'd basically choose a URL for your site, and this would probably be your company name. And then from there, you can get up and running with a fully working Shotgun site, which you would then be able to log into with your own personal login. So we're setting up an account, you would log in, so each user has a login, and then this takes you to your main Shotgun site where you would have all of your projects and so on. So this is your typical interface at the moment, and within there you would have the different projects that your studio are working on. And within the project, you would then have the different elements of that you would like to keep track of. So in this case, we've got overview, the media, the different assets and the shots and so on that you want to keep track of. And all of this is completely customizable. So you can add whatever you like here in the top level view that we're seeing. So the first person I'd like to focus on here is actually the manager and how they would be using Shotgun. It should start playing. Let's see. Okay, so the things that the manager is going to be interested in is the overall planning of your project, the tracking of the tasks, the different note taking, and finally at the end of the project, the reports, so the analytics to see how long stuff took, maybe versus how long was bid, and so on. So if we look at it from the top level view, we have something called the crew planner, and this allows you to see all the members of staff in your studio and the different projects that are going on at that time and whether your different staff members might be on vacation. So it's just a very top level view for you to be able to see at a glance who's available and what projects they can be assigned to. And then from within there, you can go into each project, and if you want to essentially block out the different departments, so modeling would come before rigging, and rigging would come before animation, and so on, you can use the project timeline to actually allow you to view this in a very simple Gantt chart style manner. And then from there, you can go in and start to really track your assets at a much more granular level. So this is your typical assets page. And you can go in and you can see this either as a thumbnail view as we're seeing here, or you can view it as a list view. And within there, you can actually see the different statuses of each asset. So the little circles that we're seeing underneath there, so the little half green circle and so on, they indicate the different statuses in a visual sense. So you can completely customize what information you see on each of these asset pages. So who it's assigned to, the status of the task, whether it's a character or an environment asset and so on. So you have complete control here over what you're seeing and what information you'd like to track. And then within each asset, you can go in and see an overview feed. So in this almost the social media sense, so like you'd see on your Facebook feed, for instance, you can actually track an asset here and see all the publishes, all the comments that have been made about the asset, any tweaks and information that people need to know about. If they're assigned to that asset, it'll come up in their feed and it'll come up in their Shotgun inbox as well. And then from the scheduling point of view, this is the other part that your manager would be interested in. And this is being able to see for a particular asset. We're looking at the beach asset on the top here. We're able to see who is assigned to it for the different departments, so animation and so on. And then as we start to move these around on our calendar in the Gantt chart, you can see that those start and end dates are actually updating procedurally. We can set up dependencies, so we can actually link the assets, so when animation finishes, then the next department down the line would be ready to start. And then going down another level of detail again, we can actually make notes on all these assets as well. So a lot of studios are actually using this as kind of a subtask level. So say a rigging task, you could add additional tweaks and revisions as a note. So a lot of studios are using it like that, and you can actually set statuses to notes as well, which is important to mention. So from within here, this would be your running dialogue. So this kind of replaces email in a sense, to be able to keep track of how all the assets are doing and so on. And then finally, the analytics part of Shotgun is very strong as well. So you can, actually I jumped ahead of myself here. So this is the review notes side of it. So this is what your coordinators would probably have up on their laptops. So when they're sat talking to your directors, they can actually make the notes as the meetings are ongoing, and those notes would instantly hit the inboxes of any Shotgun user assigned to those assets. So the final bit I was jumping ahead to a little bit there was actually the custom pages. So this is the ability for you to be able to set up a report at the end of the project. So you would set up a custom page with specific information you would like to pull. And you can then use this as a way for you to perhaps compare what was bid on the project versus time that was actually spent and so on. So you can use these custom pages to really just give you a snapshot of particular information that you might want to pull at the end of a project. So that's kind of the manager's overview. We're going to have a quick look at the artist. I'm going to whiz through this now because I'm keen to get onto Jellyfish's story. And so what the artist would be seeing is their individual tasks that would have been assigned to them. So from within here you would have, say, your layout task, and you might want to actually launch into something like Maya directly from your Shotgun site. So this is what we talk about with the integration between Shotgun and other creative tools. So this is our racetrack asset, so we can actually launch into Maya here directly from the Shotgun site. Here you go. So you would launch into Maya through Shotgun, and basically what that gives you is a plugin that allows Maya or your other creative tools to link directly to your Shotgun site. And there's a list of which tools are covered on the Shotgun software site. So here you would have, say, your Shotgun loader. So we're loading an additional asset into our scene. So we've loaded in a crash barrier here, and we just want to publish this scene now back up to Shotgun. So when we say publish, the local scene files are being saved in your usual place. And the information that you're publishing up to Shotgun is just the metadata, so the thumbnails, the comments, and this is what would be stored then on your Shotgun site and your overview for each asset. Here we go. So when you go back up to your Shotgun site, anyone following that asset would get a notification in their inbox, and then you can launch into other products as well in a similar manner. So for instance, a texturing task, you could launch into Photoshop and so on. So I'm going to quickly jump on to what is new in Shotgun, and then we're going to hand over to Jellyfish. So we've just released Shotgun 7.2, and with that comes some really nice new features which will hopefully streamline everything for you. So 7.2 came out on May 31st, and the plug and play integration now is much simpler than it has been before. So we've worked really hard to make this streamline with your current pipeline setups in the sense that you can save files as you've always been used to. You don't need to change up that side of how your studio likes to work, but you can integrate with the Shotgun publishing tools very easily. We've introduced single sign-on as well now to simplify how you log on to Shotgun, and we're now able to also actually access RV or stream to RV directly from your Shotgun site. So this is our desktop media player, allowing you to be able to use the full suite of tools that RV offers. We're not going to have time to actually go into RV today, but this is the free media player that comes with Shotgun. So we talked about the plug and play integration, so this is massively simplified from previous releases, and will really allow you to take advantage of integrating Shotgun with your tools without having to really mold your tools into the Shotgun way of working too much. We've got a new publisher as part of that, which is the simplification of the uploading to Shotgun. And we've also got STI functionality for RV now included in both awesome and super awesome support. So just a quick mention of that too. So I think now I'm good. Before I use up too much of this webinar time today, I'm going to hand over to Jellyfish. And we're just going to switch cameras quickly. Hopefully you should be able to see everyone again now. So we've got Dennis back with us here. Hello. So he is going to be just talking about how Jellyfish are using Shotgun, how it's helped them really streamline their productions. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dennis, and we've got the Jellyfish showreel, which I think would be a great way to kick things off. So we'll just run that quickly first, and then we'll hear what Dennis has got to say about Shotgun. Hopefully all positive. Okay, I think we're back on.
We're good to go. All right, well, yeah, great show reel there. Very exciting stuff. And I think it's a great introduction to what Jellyfish Animation do. So, yeah, as mentioned, we've got Denis with us today. It's Denis-Jose Francois. He has a much longer name, he has told me, but I think for today you don't mind if we just call you Denis. So Denis obviously is joining us. He's head of 3D animation. He's part of Jellyfish Animation, which have offices just around the corner from where we're broadcasting today in Soho, but you've also got a couple of other studios in London as well. Denis has prepared some slides for us, so he's going to talk through those. If you don't mind, I might interject at some point and just ask a few questions. And just a reminder for anybody that's watching, don't be shy about using the Q&A box. Please type in some questions if anything comes up that you want to know more about. But over to you, Denis.
Okay, hi. So, yeah, my name is Denis-Jose Francois. I'm head of 3D at Jellyfish Animation. Just a bit about myself. I've worked in film and TV for about 25 years. I started off actually as a compositor, flame artist. Didn't really want to do that. Always wanted to work in 3D, and I've done mostly lighting and effects stuff since then. I've been at Jellyfish since 2010 with a break in between, so I've been there for quite some time, and I've seen the company grow. Originally, the company started in 2001 with only 2 guys, and when I was there in 2010, we were 50, I think, and now we are pushing 170, 175 people.
Wow.
And we've grown quite a lot. A lot of that's been the last 3 years, and so I've been quite well positioned to see how we've taken on the use of extra tools beyond your normal 3D tools, stuff like Shotgun. We started using Shotgun in 2010, which was before Autodesk owned it.
It was, yeah.
And it was I wouldn't say it was a very different beast, but it did a lot less. It didn't have the functionality, and we used it differently. And about 3 years ago, we started using it again. So Jellyfish was originally based in Soho, based in Soho, Jellyfish Pictures, which is a VFX studio. We've worked on properties such as Kingsman, Rogue One, everyone knows that, Black Mirror, focusing on VFX and animation. We do TV shows, commercials, advertising. About 3 years ago, we opened a new studio south of the river in Brixton, which focuses on long-form animation, pure CG animation, mostly. In fact, when I say pure CG, it was actually a show called Flugels, which is full CG on live-action backgrounds. So still a very VFX pipe. So is that episodic? It's not sort of a feature-length animation, it's sort of 50 to 10-minute episodes. Aimed at children, I guess? That particular show aimed at children. Since then, we've now, that's a Flugel there on the screen, that's Boomer. Very good. Since then, we've now taken on more TV shows and we've opened more studio spaces. So we actually have, south of the river, we have 3 studio spaces, 1 in Brixton, 2 in Oval. Each one's handling a different show. We have Flugel Season 2. We have Dennis and Nasha Unleashed with Beano Studios. And another show called Bits and Bobs, which we're doing for the BBC. And they are all 52, 44 episode, 10 minutes per episode. Bits and Bobs and Dennis and Nasha are full CG. Flugels is still CG on live action backgrounds. And in Jellyfish Animation, I think we've 140 roughly artists in-house plus people out of house. And so to organize that, that's what leads us to Shotgun. So I mean, it's interesting you say, because when you first started, you mentioned you were using Shotgun, but you were a much smaller group of people. Then you kind of went away from it and then came back. Did you come back because you had reached this capacity where you had so many people trying to work on different shows that complexity was getting out of hand? I think, well, when we came back to it, it was really because we needed a way to handle our pipeline, which isn't something at that point that many studios were doing at all. In fact, in between, I'd worked at other studios which had quite developed pipelines and also used Shotgun, but the two weren't really connected directly, or at least they were connected by proprietary tools. When we started doing Flugels, we opened our Brixton studio. We didn't have a very big pipeline team. In fact, at one point it was just one guy. And so we had to look for an off-the-shelf solution, or we have to write the whole thing ourselves. You know, we saw Shotgun was out there, so we went with it. It meant we had to change a few things about the way we were working. It was a bit of a new process for Jellyfish animation.
Well, it kind of does that, doesn't it? It sort of gives you a framework to adhere to, but as long as you adhere to it, that's where you see the efficiency.
Which, for a small company that's used to doing small projects, is a difficult thing to adapt to at first. But luckily, because we were starting a new studio with a new production, that was quite easy for us to adapt. Plus, a lot of the leads that were involved had come from studios that had already incorporated Shotgun, and we're using a similar workflow, which is what we were going to talk about. We use a publish and work workflow, which I think is probably one of the trickier concepts for people to get their heads around when they come to Shotgun from a non-Shotgun environment.
Yeah, sure. So artists have to kind of publish their work as opposed to just saving it and remembering where it's saved.
And the structure, the hierarchy for that is defined within Shotgun. We sort of look at it, publishers are golden. You know, once you publish something, it never gets touched again. It's like locked in stone, and you move on to the next work version. We have adopted a primary and secondary publish idea, where you publish your primary file. So let's say you're an animator, your primary file is your animation file, your Maya file. You publish that, and then you have a secondary publish from that, which will be your Alembic cache, your camera, your play blast, etc. And at every stage of the process, we do something similar, whether it's in storyboard or whether it's in layout or lighting or even comp. So you have a primary publish, and then things come off that as the secondary publish.
So you've got sort of these dependencies hanging around it, and I guess that's what Shotgun's helping you manage and track.
Yes, and then where our pipeline management comes into that is that each stage drives the next step, the next discipline. So, which I'll talk through in a more precise example of later. So data coming out of one step feeds right into the next one, and Shotgun helps us track and manage that to a very fine level of granularity.
Sure.
So, but all of that starts with how we keep our information for both assets and shots. We pretty much store everything. Lens information for backplates, types, props, sets, rigged assets, lighting templates, storyboard panels, as much stuff as we can, and that we're constantly coming up with new things that we can store in Shotgun.
So you're just extending what Shotgun's managing, I suppose, which is one of its strengths, I guess.
I mean, at first we were sort of, I don't want to say reluctant, but we were just using it as literally shot information. This is a shot, these are the frame in-out times, and this is the person who worked on it, which is, I think, the simplest level that you can use Shotgun for. And then we started to, okay, so we're caching a shot. Where are those caches? Why don't we record that in Shotgun? Okay, now what about the cameras? Let's record that in Shotgun too. We're doing an auto build on something. Do we have camera lens information? Yep, we put that in Shotgun. And over time, we've just added more and more and more stuff. I think we were worried at one point that it wouldn't be able to handle that amount of data. Just to put it in perspective, a typical episode of ours is about 150 to 200 shots. We've got 52 shots in a series, so you're looking at 9,000 plus shots, and then we've got 3 series on the go at once. So our current Shotgun site is up, between 20 and 30,000 shots live at any one time. So that is a lot of data. Each of those shots has a number of tasks assigned to them, blocking, spline, polish, light setup, render, auto comp, edit. And so at any one given time, you've got, maybe 100,000 various entries in our Shotgun database, which are constantly being manipulated.
How would you have managed all that if you weren't using something like Shotgun? I mean, presumably, there must have been a tipping point where you had so much going on that you were losing track, and that's why you looked for.
I think the tipping point became when we went beyond one TV series.
Right.
Because even when we were doing one TV series, we were still able to do our, we used to do spreadsheets a lot. I think a lot of companies out there use Google Docs and stuff like this, because mostly because you can have like 60 people logged into the same spreadsheet, and it's very flexible and it's kind of free and everything. So once you get past a certain number of TV shows, though, you just can't do that. It's just too much, too many of them. At any one time, we've got probably per show 10 or 12 episodes active at one time. We've got 3 teams of animators working on 3 separate shows. We've got a layout team working on a show. We've got 2 teams of lighters working on 2 separate episodes. We've got 2 teams of compers. That's just on one series. And then as the episodes progress, you get kickbacks and client notes on earlier episodes that you finished. So it's, you don't live at any one time. I think right now we might have 15 episodes, and then you've got 3 series.
Yeah.
And once you're at that point, that means just me personally, I have to look at 45 different spreadsheets.
Sure.
That's crazy.
And you're prone to make errors there. I guess,
absolutely.
A spreadsheet is not a nice tool to look at for a long period of time.
Yeah. And your other alternatives would be to create and build and manage your own database, which in itself is a dark art, and or you could just use this tool.
Sure.
Which is.
I mean, I see on the screen there on the slide, how much you're managing on there, and obviously you've got so many teams sort of feeding information. Is one of the benefits that it is kept live,
Well, yes. One of the benefits is that it's live, obviously, and because of the way we publish into Shotgun, all of these assets which are tracked, it's not just a name, or it's also a pointer to where that file actually is and who created it. It's real data and their actual entities, which allows our pipeline tools to actually talk to the database and come back with real useful information. So, which is, I think, I was going to go to on the next slide, where we do control and feedback. So we trigger our pipeline tools from Shotgun. So let's say, for instance, animation is finished on a shot. I can go into Shotgun, find that shot, right click, and I'll get a drop down menu of our own tools of things I can do to that shot. I can run a Limbic cache. If the shot's already been rendered, I can publish all of the renders. I can do an auto comp. I can do an auto build of the shot. And if I do an auto build, and again, I was going to go through this in a bit more detail, it will gather all the information about all the assets that are attached to that shot. It knows where they are, and it can put them together in a My file, set it up, send it to the render farm, etc.
So you don't have to rely on memory for a lot of this stuff. It's kind of automating all those bits.
Well, I mean, it would be impossible. And one of the things which sort of started off as a byproduct of what we were doing, but it's actually become really important, is version locking, which can be a bit of a nightmare on a TV show if you've got hundreds, thousands of assets, and the production time might be over a year or a year and a half, and the rigs that you start with might not be the rigs that you end with. You've done episode 1, now you're on episode 40, but you've got a completely different rig for the same character.
It's evolved over that time.
You have to go back to episode 1. Do you use you can't use the newer rig for some reason, and so we're able to version lock stuff quite easily. So I don't have to worry if I have to go back to episode 3 and I'm on episode 12, all the assets that were used for that episode are locked, and if I need to rebuild it or reopen it or reuse it, I can do that quite comfortably, knowing that I'm going to get the right stuff into the pipeline. I'm not going to say it's flawless. There's still human error involved, of course, and technical error sometimes. But generally speaking, it works really, really well. And we still have to manage a few config files here and there. And of course, people still have to put some data in. Someone has to decide, well, we're version locking that on these episodes, tag things, but it works quite well. Another example of that would be in one of our shows, we do hair dynamics on some characters, but not others, and we tag specific shots as being shots which have hair dynamics in them. Okay. And we've set up
a greater complexity almost, so you can kind of sort of filter out the more complex shots.
So we've recently set up the Shotgun Event Daemon, which is a sort of server that runs in the background, which receives and sends messages and fires off stuff that you can customize and do all sorts of interesting stuff with. And we've set that up to allow the animators to just very easily go onto a shot and say, right, I need hair dynamics on this, and then it will update the main Shotgun database. And then when our caching tools kick off and they get to that shot, they know, okay, I've got to do a different caching routine. I need to do a pre-roll and cache it like this instead of like that, and we don't even have to think about it.
So it's automating a lot of your pipeline that otherwise you would have to manually.
And this is a recent thing we've added, and before we did that, it was all very manual. Somebody would say, oh, who's done hair dynamics on which shot, and someone would make a list, and there'd be an email, and we'd go in and we'd have to figure it out. All right, this shot we're going to do 100 frames pre-rolls. Now we don't have to do that at all. It's just click and then our tools take care of it for us. And that would be very hard to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's made it quite simple.
So I think that's the nice thing about Shotgun is the two-way street. So you could trigger events in Shotgun from within packages like Maya, but like you were saying before, you can also trigger your own in-house tools from your Shotgun site, no matter what they are.
Yeah, so we probably have more non-standard tools than standard ones, probably like most studios. And my own development philosophy with the team is, even if it's a tool, say in Maya, like our caching tool, we've got our own element caching tool, like a lot of studios have. My rule is there's 3 stages. 1, we make it work inside the tool on its own. Then we make sure it runs on a command line on its own, so I can just run it on a batch file. And once it can do those 2 things properly, then we want to fire it from Shotgun. And normally, we only ever use it now in the last step. It gives us a bit of fallback. If on a very rare occasion that Shotgun falls down on us completely, we can still go back a few steps. But it makes it very easy for us to develop these right-click menu tools that anyone from anywhere can use.
That's the thing, you don't have to be a specialist then, do you? In a particular department, a coordinator or producer could be running these. But obviously with great power comes great responsibility.
So, I mean, depending on the show, one of the shows we do, actually a lot of that stuff is done by coordinators and producers. And on other shows, it's completely done by CG supervisors and the artists themselves. But we've got that flexibility to be able to do it.
So you mentioned you had something about your auto build process.
Yes, I was going to get to the auto build process. So just as an example, so at Jellyfish Animation, we have this idea that we want our artists to be artists. And when we were working on season 1 of Flugels, we found, especially in the lighting portion of the pipeline, that the bulk of time our guys were spending, myself included, was caching shots and building shots, and then we'd spend like a fraction of that time actually doing any lighting. And that's crazy, and it could definitely throw you behind schedule, and it's boring as well. You hire people to make things look beautiful, and actually they're caching stuff on a command line. So we want to build as much of that automatically as we can, and we slowly progress that to every stage. Of pretty much every stage of our production. I say it's semi-automatic because a person still has to kick it off and someone still has to check it. And you've always got shots which don't work. But so as an example, at the end of animation, an animator will publish their animation, and the Shotgun status is automatically set to pending review.
Right.
That review is done, and it can be either done in our edit or it can be done through RV. And once it's been approved, then that status effectively will change to approved, I think. And that's a signal. Then anyone can come in. Normally it'll be a supervisor, but can come in and look and see which shots have been approved.
So you can filter. I mean, it's kind of like using a spreadsheet in a way that you can filter.
We've created a field, because you can create your own fields in Shotgun very easily. We've created a field called the shot state, which is different from a shot status. The status is, approved, ready to go, omit. The state is, where about along the pipeline it actually is. So at this point, the shot state would be animation's been updated. And once we see that, then we can kick off the next process, which is a caching routine. So you would literally go into Shotgun, select all the shots you want to send down the pipe, right click, and there'll be an Alembic cache routine. We fire that off. And at that point, our tools do a number of things. That process could actually happen 4 weeks after animation was complete. There might be a cycle of notes and review from the client, and in that time, things might have changed. Rigs might have been updated or deprecated for whatever reason. So our tools then will look at that shot. It will check to see if things have been rig locked. It will see what the latest versions of the rigs are, update them where necessary. Check, for instance, if it needs to have hair dynamics, as I was just saying earlier, and then choose the right routine, set that up, and send that to the render farm. It can do it locally as well. We always have a local and render farm option. Sometimes it's actually quicker to do things locally, just because a local user machine might just be more powerful than our farm nodes. Or you can send stuff off overnight. And then what's interesting is it goes to the farm, but the farm feeds back to Shotgun.
Right.
all the
Okay.
time.
So it's all connected.
Yeah, we use Raw Render as our file management tool. We've written in some routines so that, again, in that shot state field that I was talking about, we get just some feedback saying, you know, okay, pre-script is done, mid-script is done, there's an error. Just simple information, so we know where the process is. So I can, on a Friday night, I can select an entire episode, start that process off. By the time I get home, if I want to, I can look at on Shotgun on web browser at home, and I can see how far down the pipe those shots have gone. And I can just keep coming back to it, and eventually I'll see, you know, caching's complete, etc., etc. So that that happens once the caching is complete. That's, you know, we see that state change in Shotgun, and at that point we can then go on to the next stage if we so wish. We have a couple of routines where the whole process is automated. We tend to sort of take breaks in between. So assuming that everything's been successful, I can then go back to Shotgun, select all those same shots, and then say light build. And then the same thing happens again, but in relation to lighting. So the tools will check, okay, so these are my caches. This shot needs a certain light template, which is something else we would have tagged in Shotgun. That this scene is in this environment, so therefore we've got a lighting template and lighting rig for it, and it will pull all of that stuff together, along with, you know, the obvious stuff, shot in, out, etc. Build a Maya scene for us, and then send a one-frame render to the file.
Yeah.
That will go through. Again, we can check the status of that, and we get notified when that's finished, and then I can come along. So by now it's like Saturday afternoon, and I can come along and have a look, and I can just see each one of those frames. I can review them in RV at this point because they've been auto-published, or I can just look at them through our render file management tool, whichever I prefer. I can see if there's anything off. You know, the camera's obviously going to tree.
Just a sanity check to make sure it's not coming out black or, you know,
exact stuff like that. And then all the ones which are correct, I can go back into Shotgun. I select them all, and I say, right, go, and then it will do the entire set. And then come Monday morning, in fact, normally in my case it's Sunday night because I'm the kind of person who logs in at 2 a.m. I'll see that everything's rendered, and it will say so. You know, everything's been rendered, and then the next thing I'll do is do an auto comp, and this is where our primary and secondary publish idea comes into play, because we're already now past the lighting stage just for a setup, but we're actually heading into comp. So we've got some comp templates set up, and the same build tools will happen again as we publish the renders. The various passes, or maybe it's just a master layer, will get pulled in to a comp file. There might be some depth of field that's thrown on there for good measure, or it might pull in the correct backplate for that shot if it's a VFX shot, for say a show like Bluegfx or something like that. It will get comped on farm. That's why I do it at like midnight on a Sunday, so it's already on Monday morning. I come in on Monday morning, hopefully everything's ready. I can review it in RV, or we've got another set of tools which automatically grab stuff out of that's ready and slams it straight into Premiere.
So it sounds like it gives you a bit of flexibility from the desk. I mean, it enables you to relax a bit more, I guess, because you can do a sanity check. You know, it's automated, most of it, so you're pretty sure that it's going to be doing what it ought to be doing.
So by doing this process, obviously very seldom does it all go swimmingly, because for just regular, you know, production reasons.
It's complex stuff.
But you know, we can start off with 150 shots, and maybe 130 of them will make them to the end, and of those, you know, 100 of them are okay, and the others have got problems. But we'll be doing this maybe a week or two before we even start lighting, in this particular step. And it allows us to troubleshoot and track down all of the things that are going to cause our lighters problems, and fix them. We can feed back to the asset team. You know, obviously, you know, this texture isn't the right resolution. This is the wrong asset completely. This is broken. You know, these caches are exploding. We can solve all of those, and then when we get back to, not to mention stuff like animation, floating, and intersections, and those kind of things. So when we get to the actual lighting portion of our pipeline, the guys, when they sit down, they're starting with a file. We'll do a quick rebuild at that point, and they're starting with a file where most of the intersections are gone. They're not floating. They're, you know, all the shaders are there. The twigs aren't broken. etc., etc. And then they can spend their time actually lighting stuff.
Yes, they can be creative. They've got a clean file, it's been sanity checked, it's ready to go.
Things are on a certain level and it's very efficient. We get far more shots out of them that way because they're not spending, because all that stuff I just described, that's been automated, that's stuff that they would have had to do.
So you're getting what you're paying those guys to do. They're paid to be creative.
You know,
and to wrangle. It's
my feeling, and you know, this has happened at many companies I've worked at. I'm not saying this is a Jellyfish experience. Is that when things go off schedule and over budget, this is one of the reasons why, because people don't anticipate assets being broken and the wrong backplate being in, you know, whatever. They don't notice it until it's, you know, till the client sees it. And these are the kind of things which take you off schedule and ruin your budget. So we're trying to, you know, sort of iron that out of our process.
See, what I like about what you're saying is, you know, the way, because it you know, when you talk about your usage of shotgun, you're a power user. I mean, you've been using it for a long time, so you've properly built shotgun into your pipeline. What I quite liked was hearing about, initially you were just using it at this very high level, because, you know, a lot of people that will be watching a webinar today have been new to the product, and they might think, we're not the scale of Jellyfish, you know, we don't do thousands of shots, you know, we're not managing 9,000 shots, but, you know, it's probably worth pointing out that you can build up to this level. I mean, shotgun is a very open system, it's got an API.
And, you know, it's, how can I put it? So one of the nice things, because everything's like because we use the published publishing idea and things are actual entities, if I publish a new version of an asset, it doesn't, I don't care what it's called. I don't care what version it is or what the actual path is. Shotgun's going to take care of that for me. So what we were doing before is we would hard code loads of stuff, and we would have scripts where you had to put in half of it, you'd have to go in there and edit a path and edit, like, you know, the whatever the leading zeros, and we don't have to do that anymore. Shotgun knows the name of stuff. All we've got to do is put in the name of the asset, or say what the shot is, and it will take care of the rest. And just that alone saves so many people so much time. It's worth it. Just that, you know, just for that.
Did your artists sort of initially feel a bit, you know, I don't want to be mandated in the way I work, and then sort of slowly get on board, or did they initially come in and go, actually, we can see why you're doing this?
That depends on who the artists are. What we found were that the older, more experienced artists struggled more than the new ones, and I would include myself in that. I wasn't the biggest fan at first, because it feels like the hardest thing that I had to adapt to was the idea that I would want to launch my main tool through another tool. Which is weird. Why would I do that? Why do I need to? In fact, back when we first started using it, that happened only through the website, and I found it very strange to go to a web browser to launch Maya. Why would I want to do that? Or Nuke, right?
It's very different.
Now we've got Shotgun Desktop. We do that, but it's great because we can control the version quite comfortably, and anyone out there who works with Maya will understand this. You know, we get past that very annoying situation of the context of where something is, because we're launching through Maya, through Shotgun. Maya knows where it's supposed to be, so you don't get this weird situation where you open a file and it starts rendering to the location of the last file you opened, which I think every Maya user in the world experiences that. And Shotgun takes care of that for us. And if we switch to another shot, it just changes its context accordingly. And just that was the thing I think that probably won me over. Because I would, you know, I'd work on files, I'd send stuff to the farm, and then I'd look at the path it was rendering to, and it would be on some completely different drive somewhere. And it used to drive me insane, and Shotgun solved that for me. So,
well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, everyone's going to sort of have to get used to a new way of working, but there are going to be things that will just help and make you more efficient.
And you know, it allows us to roll stuff out far more easily. We can, I mean, right now we do stuff like our Maya environment file, the one that sits in your user documents, whatever. That is controlled by Shotgun. We can change that whenever we like, so that everybody's pointing at, you know, whatever the right thing is. We can do stuff like define the renderer for a show within Shotgun, so that when something's sent to the farm, it's rendering of a specific version, regardless of what they might have been using to light it. You know, we use Redshift at the moment at Jellyfish, and different shows are on slightly different versions, and we can control that through Shotgun as well. We also use V-Ray for some stuff, and we can control that as well. which version of V-Ray we're using and who's using it, etc. So it's just become, now that we're into the groove of it, we're starting to think of inventive ways. Maybe I can tag each user with how many sugars they have in their coffee or something, and do stuff like that.
That's pretty cool. I mean, if we had any questions, I'd see sort of Morgan's been tapping.
Big one coming up from Adam Jackson.
Did you just want to read it out? Because we're actually coming up towards the top of the hour, believe it or not.
I mean, this one's a fairly techie one, so I'll probably answer that just in the chat window. I'm just going to scroll down. Have a look at
anything else that's cropped up that we haven't?
I'll address these couple. I think they're more techie ones. Let's have a look. Is TV Paint compatible? If TV Paint compatible can do Python, you'll be able to run various procedures within the Shotgun. So we have a Python API within Shotgun you can talk to, but in terms of out-of-the-box support, we don't offer that through our desktop app yet. If you go to the Shotgun support site, you'll be able to actually have a look at which softwares are included. But off the top of my head, it's Maya, Max, Houdini, Nuke, Photoshop, Mari.
It's not all Autodesk stuff. That's the thing. And as you say, if it has Python, then the API can deal with it.
So someone's asking about the new plug and play feature from 7.2. So this is the next incarnation of Toolkit. It's not to say that we're stopping the old way of using Toolkit. So a lot of studios rely heavily on Toolkit. What the new plug and play feature allows you to do is to publish stuff in a slightly different way. So previously you would have had to have set up folder schemas, directory structures to kind of work in the Shotgun mold, if you like. The new plug and play functionality and the new publish tool that comes with Maya and the other packages allows you to save files as you always have done. So it's not changing the way that you work with your assets in terms of the local scene files from Maya and so on. What it is doing is just simplifying how you're able to publish the information that you want to track. So what version it is, what comments you want to add, what thumbnail image. That data is all that is going up to Shotgun. But the new plug and play functionality will take care of things like knowing what version of Maya you're running and things like that, whereas previously you would have had to have gone in and had to do a little bit of rewiring, if you like, to make sure that the Shotgun toolkit was aware of, oh, I'm using 3 different versions of Maya, 2017 back to 2014 and so on. The plug and play functionality now just knows all of that. It's the all-seeing eye, if you like, of what it needs to hook into. Let's have a look. Does this work with Cinema 4D or After Effects? Yes and no. So again, we don't have out-of-the-box functionality yet. We do however, have the Python API, as we mentioned before. So you can run Python functions from within those packages. After Effects probably slightly trickier at this point. But we do have a new Photoshop plugin that is compatible with Toolkit.
Can I just butt in here and say that we have written our own version of a standalone publisher to handle After Effects, which allows us, using Python, which allows us to publish After Effects stuff into our pipeline.
Yep.
It's not as integrated as, say, the Maya, obviously the Maya stuff, but it works.
Yes. So, and actually, speaking of the standalone publishing, that is something we do offer as part of Toolkit. It's like a separate app where you can drag and drop the files. Again, it's not as integrated, but it is another way for you to be able to track files that aren't necessarily supported out the box with Toolkit.
And one thing I want to add, actually, because I never thought I'd ever hear myself saying this. In the past, one of the things that always put me off Shotgun was the stability of the website itself. And since Autodesk took over, that has been completely changed. It's really, 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 really stable. We hardly ever lose our connection. In fact, we never lose our connection, I want to say, to Shotgun. In 3 years, I can't think of any occasion where we were unable to use Shotgun because of an outage that was caused by Shotgun. Whereas prior to that, I can think of many occasions where that happened. And that's definitely something that's changed since.
That's good. I mean, we've beefed up a number of things. So security being another big thing. So we we have two levels of security. We have the Autodesk security team, shotgun security team. We're audited by third parties as well, and also just the general usage of being able to view your media and that sort of thing. We now have, again, as part of the 7.2 release, we've now got local servers in Europe and other regions across the world. It used to just be the States. So this is where your media is going. So there's a few things happening when you hit publish in something like Maya. You've seen files just being saved on your local storage, wherever that may be. The metadata in terms of what's going to the database is going to our shotgun servers in the States, but the actual media, so your thumbnail images, perhaps any movies that you might have uploaded, they get transcoded to a compressed version. All of that will now be stored in a local server to wherever your studio is. So I think our nearest one is Dublin here. So you should notice a big improvement in speed from previous releases of Shotgun as well.
I know we're a bit over time, I think, but on the subject of review, we do review, obviously, with RV, but what we started using quite a lot of more recently is the client review site,
Yes,
which is really, especially for assets, which is great. It means we can control what we send for clients to sign off on and comment, and they can feedback, and it's literally a case of, you know, you do a publish, it can be like a picture, a movie, whatever it is, you add a bunch of emails, you send it out, and then they get this nice little site that's set up where they can see stuff, and you can have a conversation with them, and they can actually approve stuff on
so you're not having to try and get your client to understand how to download a mod file or whatever on their phone. You know, they're treated as they have a portal into your.
Everyone's seeing the same thing. They can do draw overs.
So they're part of the process.
There's an actual approve button on there. And then you've got a history of that. And you can see
can't argue it.
Well, getting them to press the approve button, that's a different matter. But they can, you can see a history of progression of their notes and your notes and stuff. And we're finding that actually our clients are responding to it. Where we used to, you know, we'd finish an asset and we'd send it to them, and 3 days later we're like, can we get feedback? Now we're sending out these lists and we're getting feedback like 5 minutes later. Because this is popping up on a mobile phone somewhere, they're on set and they're looking at, approve and done. And this is, I'm a little surprised with how much they've taken to this. So it does
meet their policies and all that kind of thing.
So
is that it in action that we're seeing?
Yeah, I just managed to find a video that I didn't get time to cover earlier on actually, so I'm glad you mentioned it. This is just talking about exactly what Dennis has just described. So this is the screening room where you can go in and annotate and do your draw overs, but then you can supply a playlist to your client as well, which is what Dennis was mentioning there. So this is it's a timestamped URL link that allows your customer to be able to have a portal, if you like, to your Shotgun site without necessarily needing a Shotgun license, which is very, very useful. It doesn't even have to be a client as such. It could be a third party that you're working on one of their IPs. As Dennis mentioned, there's an app as well, an iOS app, so if you want to keep track of this stuff on the move, very useful if you've got a 4G connection.
I think it works well on a browser as well. If you're on Android,
it's just HTML5. It's just that's a lot of what the publish does. It converts it into a version of the file that can be played by anything.
So this is the client review tool. So you have the ability to say, well, this link is only going to be available for 7 days. It's fully password protected, and this can be sent to an external client. So as long as you've got their email address, then that's all you need. And then as Dennis mentioned, there's the golden approve button. Sadly, I think they can probably unapprove it as well. Clients
or just misapprove. We're not happy with it.
I'm just saying if we've got any additional.
But at least you know that everybody's looking at the same thing, and the comments are. Which sounds like a really simple problem to solve, but believe me, it's not.
So one customer here is asking, we receive client review Shotgun playlists. We don't have Shotgun ourselves. We don't have the option to see the history. I believe from the client end, all you're seeing is indeed that playlist. Because you don't actually have access to the Shotgun account, you wouldn't get to see the history of previous items that you've been sent. But at the user's end, I believe you would be able to see what playlists you had submitted to the client. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I think you'll see the history if you've always been part of that history.
Right.
I'm not sure if you just got added at the tail end of someone's review. Maybe you wouldn't see what came before.
Probably not.
But
No, I think
whenever I've looked in there, I've been able to see the history, even when I'm checking it from a non-studio account.
Right.
Depending, I guess, on whether whether I've been included in the entire chain from the beginning or not.
Yep.
I couldn't say for sure about that. Actually.
Yeah.
Don't quote me.
Well, we can dig in because I mean, there's a lot of control over
Yes,
emissions and
yeah.
things. You know,
If they had a shotgun site, they would be able to see the history. That was the next
Absolutely,
question. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so that would simplify that end. We've got can shots be rendered for approval with handles from previous and following shot to check hookups? Is there anywhere you can watch your project in its current guise? So I think what you're talking about here is probably the editorial side of it. So we do offer EDL support now as of Shotgun version 7, I think. So this allows you to view sort of mini edits. You can view it in the context of the the full edit. So you can see you can upload the shots once, but then you can view different versions of that edit. So you're only uploading the media once, but then you can toggle between. You can do mini edits where you can say, just show me the shots before and after my single task that I've been added. So that is something we offer, is the EDL support for the editorial side of Shotgun. I think that's just getting stronger and stronger as we go along as well. So I think we're a little bit over. I don't know if there's any final questions for us before we say farewell. I'll just
if there are people can just sort of add them on. We'll keep the session running afterwards and people be able to. But I think thank you, Dennis. I mean, it's been great, obviously, talking about Shotgun with a customer that's been using it to the extent that you have, and I think it's been particularly valuable to sort of hear how you've built it into your pipeline, how it's become sort of the back end of how you get work through your pipeline from start to finish, and I guess being able to take on more complex projects and really scale up the company as a result.
I can't imagine at this stage how we would do it otherwise.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest. I can't.
Sure.
You know, can I just throw in there that we're always hiring?
Absolutely.
So visit our website, jellyfishpictures.co.uk, for both our VFX and our animation studios. We're always looking for people, looking for good talent, and we've always got stuff on the go. So yeah,
great. Well, thanks for coming in. It's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. Very nice to hear how you've been using Shotgun in anger.
Absolutely. So we're coming up to the end of the time. I just want to hand it back to Matt to close off. I'm just going to give you a mic, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dennis and the guys at Autodesk. Really interesting for me as well, and nice to stress the point that actually you can see users from small to medium growing to super user. And it seems now that you're locked into Autodesk now, so you're ransomed to Autodesk. So
not leaving this room.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And also say, guys, just to encourage everyone who's listening in, you can download the software to a trial. If you've got any queries, there's a couple of email addresses there, sales@Bluegfx, and my email address. So if you've got anything for these guys as well, please send those across and I'll make sure that they're answered as well. And just to say thank you for logging in and joining us today, and sorry we ran over a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.